President Donald Trump has issued the very first gold card to himself, which isn't at all shocking and or surprising. He displayed the first gold card on Air Force One while he was speaking to the media yesterday.
$5 million. For $5 million, this could be yours. That was the first of the cards. You know what that card is?
Gold card.
It's the gold card. The Trump card, gold card.
Who's the first buyer?
Me.
Who's the second?
I don't know, but I'm the first buyer. It'll be out in about less than 2 weeks, probably. Pretty exciting, right?
I know I'm excited. I wish I had $5 million in a Trump gold card when I came to this country from Canada back in the 80s, but we did it the hard way. We had to hire lawyers and go through tests. And you know what? This isn't about me. This is about President Donald Trump. And this is one of President Donald Trump's ideas to make America rich again and also bring in the best people. Not the worst people, the best people. Donald Trump says, look, there's a lot of people out there who are smart, who are intelligent, who work hard, who want to chase the American dream. And now we're giving them the opportunity to skip the line, if you will, to get the fast pass into the United States of America. These are people who are going to really be quality individuals and donate to society in some way. Now, a lot of those folks can't afford $5 million gold cards, but there are a lot of institutions and organizations and industries that can. For example, he says Apple Computer is always calling up the White House saying, we have a scientist in India, or we have someone in Sri Lanka. We have a student who's at the Wharton School of Business, which happens to be President Donald Trump's alma mater. And we would like them to stay in this country. The only problem is they're on a student visa. Now, all they have to do is plunk down $5 million, and that student can get a gold card and then spend the rest of their life in indentured servitude to Apple and Tim Cook until they pay it off. The gold card. It's really a phenomenal idea. And it's something that Donald Trump says, if we can sell enough of them to enough people at enough of a profit, then we could knock $1 trillion almost off of our national debt. And that is something, again, that's one of his ideas to make America great again and rich again simultaneously. Speaking of making America rich again, there's been a lot of talk, of course, about not just the Trump gold card, but also the tariffs. Donald Trump instituted the other day in the Rose Garden the reciprocal tariffs, and the stock market, they had a correction, if you will. There was some would call it a plummet, some would call it a downturn, but it is something that was fairly well projected. Anytime you have a disruption of this kind, anytime you have a new idea, the stock market, they don't really react the way that you would think that they would. Harrison Fields, who is a special assistant to the president of the United States, was on, I want to say Newsmax, and he explained it perfectly.
Listen, the market would prefer the status quo, but the status quo has not worked for the American people for decades. President Trump had a choice. Do I stand with America or do I stand with the world? And they're taking advantage of the United States worker. He obviously made a choice. It was an easy choice for him. It's something he's been supporting for over 3 decades. He decided to stand with the United States of America and our working class, something that most presidents have ignored for decades. These things aren't easy to do. It would have been easy for President Trump to go along with the status quo. He wasn't elected to follow the status quo. He's been disrupting Washington since the day he walked down that escalator in Manhattan, and he's doing it again now. And the American people trust him on this because he did it effectively in his first term. He will do it effectively again now as president a second time.
Anytime you change something, something's got to change. And that's what we're learning. Anytime you change something, there's going to be a disruption. The status quo has not been working for the United States of America. So when you change things up a little bit for the better, you're going to have some kind of market correction. The world is going to panic, if you will. People are going to lose faith because it's uncertainty. It's the unknown, but it is exactly what the doctor ordered. And that's what President Donald Trump was trying to say all along. He's saying, look, this was a sick patient, and we had to come in and take care of beeswax.
This is a patient that was very sick. We really inherited a terrible economy, as you know, with a lot of problems, including loss of manufacturing and plants closed up all over the country. We've lost 90,000 plants since NAFTA, if you think of that. 90,000. It's not even believable. And about 6 million jobs. And so it was a sick patient. It went through an operation on Liberation Day, and it's going to be a booming country, a very booming country. It's going to be amazing, actually, and we see it because we have trillions of dollars committed to come in, trillions.
Trillions of dollars indeed, and that's just since President Donald Trump took office less than 100 days ago. You have chip manufacturers from Taiwan, you've got automobile manufacturers from Korea, you've got other investments coming in from the Middle East and Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, and all over the globe, we're starting to see industry return to the United States of America. Japan and Japanese industries are bringing their AI technology to the United States because they know that this is the future. And even Apple itself, which is an American company and an American industry, is bringing jobs back from China because of these tariffs and because of the reciprocal tariffs Donald Trump placed on manufacturing and products coming in from overseas. And it's worrying. He said it's a sick patient. It's a sick patient and the economy needed to be fixed. And sometimes you got to go in there, you got to dig or you got to cut some stuff out. It's like an operation.
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on. And it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it.
And Donald Trump, by the way, he's really into the medical. He's really into the medical metaphors, which I'm all about. That's what happens when you hang out with somebody like RFK Jr. Your metaphors start to become more healthy and more medical in nature. But Donald Trump is not wrong. In fact, Stephen Miller. It's time for our daily dose of Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller was on, I want to say, with Fox News, because I think they always have Stephen Miller on. And he explained that globalization isn't just a way to make the rest of the world rich. It's also a way to punish and penalize the United States of America. And this globalization that we've been seeing for decades now under Klaus Schwab and all of these other people around the globe who've been trying to create this one world order have not just been building up other countries, but weakening the United States of America. And that is all part of their dastardly plan. But as you're about to see, President Donald Trump has put an end to that.
What is globalization? What is this economic policy that our elites in the United States, so-called elites, have had for the last half century, Democrat and Republican? Globalization is the redistribution of American wealth to foreign countries. It is a formal policy of trying to develop foreign nations at the expense of the U.S. working and middle class. Trillions of dollars that would be in the pockets of American workers is now in China, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Canada, Mexico, all across Africa, all across Asia. It is the great theft of American prosperity. Prosperity that was won through our victory in multiple wars. We left World War II as the dominant economic unipolar superpower. And instead, over the ensuing decades, all of that wealth, all of that manufacturing, all of that industry was ripped apart by our elites, shipped to foreign countries, and then they sent us the bill. They said, you have to protect Korea, you have to protect Europe, you have to protect Canada, you have to protect Japan. We won't take your cars, we won't take your agriculture, we'll take away your steel industry, your aluminum industry, your copper industry, your electronics industry. All of the national industries that you need to be secure and successful as a country. So what President Trump is saying is, these are the injustices you have to remedy. This isn't just about moving around some lines on a ledger. This is about remedying the systemic injustice that says the streets of America are filled with European cars and Japanese cars, but the streets of Europe and Japan have no American cars. This is about saying that the American steel industry, which once built and sustained the modern world and is now a former husk of itself, coming back now thanks to Trump's tariffs, has to be completely revitalized.
Stephen.
And Laura Ingram's like, okay, I get it, but I get it, but we got to move on. Hey, but he's 100% right. After World War II, which the United States won, the United States of America went in and saved the entire world after World War II and became rich doing it. It seems like a fair trade-off. And every decade since then, globalists and elitists have been peeling away layers of the United States of America's economic stability, peeling away layers of our industry, taking our jobs away, taking our manufacturing away. And they're doing it because their countries have less regulation, cheaper labor. And here in the United States of America, we're bickering and whining over what the government should not control, minimum wage, all those other things. Instead, what we're doing is we're slowly poisoning our own economic vitality. And Donald Trump now has the antidote. There's another medical metaphor for you, by the way, in case you were wondering. And it's working, and it's going to work. This thing is going to work because the tariffs, while they shock the system immediately, will eventually bring everyone to the negotiating table. And Peter Navarro, who is a close economic advisor of the president and one of the architects of his tariff policy, was asked about that. How long until, what's the process for countries to now negotiate lower tariffs with the United States of America so we can see some stabilization and start getting some of that economic windfall?
How negotiable are these tariffs? What does it take for countries to actually negotiate the tariffs that were just announced yesterday?
Let me make this very clear. This is not a negotiation. This is not that. This is a national emergency. And I watched a commentator today on another network who came from South Carolina who said very clearly, well, if we're going to have somebody come here and invest in a textile plant or an auto plant or whatever, they're not going to do that if they think the tariffs are going to go away tomorrow. And the reason they can't go away tomorrow is because the bigger problem is the non-tariff barriers. You think that the European Union is going to give up their protections for farmers, their protections for the tech companies, their VAT tax tomorrow? That's impossible. So these tariffs are here to protect America. They'll raise revenues for the External Revenue Service. They'll restructure not just our economy, but our tax system.
Okay.
And Americans will benefit from every single dollar we raise. They will have more jobs. We will have more factories. And the stock market, by the way, last thing I'll say, in the Biden regime, the S&P 500 went up, but it went up because of 7 companies, and 80% of the companies in the S&P 500 stagnated. In the Trump bullish market, which is beginning now, it's going to be a lot of companies. It's going to be all the companies in the S&P who invest here, produce here, and prosper here. And it's going to be a golden age. You had the gold rush in the 1880s. This is the golden age rush.
All right, so we've got the market fluctuation, but we are beginning the new golden age, and these negotiations are not negotiations at all. These are tariffs that are put in place because we need to make sure that the United States of America is protected, just like Europe has been protecting their assets for so long. J.D. Vance sat down with Newsmax, and J.D. Vance was also asked about the market fluctuations and what's happening with the market. And J.D. Vance, another great ally of President Donald Trump and a fantastic pick for his cabinet, explained it this way.
But we care the most about American workers and about American small businesses, and they're the ones who are really going to benefit from these policies. Think about how many factories we've seen close down. Since NAFTA in the early 90s, 90,000 American factories have been closed down. That's small towns that have been blighted. That's millions of workers who have lost their jobs. That has to stop.
And that's your wheelhouse.
President Trump, that is my wheelhouse.
That's where you're from.
I grew up in a town where you had 10,000 great American steel workers, and my town was one of the lucky ones. Now probably has 1,500 steel workers in that factory because you had economic policies that rewarded shipping our jobs to China instead of investing in American workers. And that's what President Trump, he ran on changing it. He promised he would change it, and now he has. And I think Americans are going to reap the benefits.
100% Americans are going to reap the benefits. I mean, it can't get any worse than it was. As soon as you install one reciprocal tariff on one country, the United States of America is a better place. President Donald Trump has installed reciprocal tariffs on every country that currently has tariffs on us. Before we wrap it up, J.D. Vance was asked a couple of other things. This was an all-encompassing interview with Rob Schmidt from Newsmax, the newly publicly traded company that had their IPO earlier this week. And some great answers and some great questions and some great answers from J.D. Vance. They asked him also about this trip to Greenland and why is it that Donald Trump is so hell-bent on getting control of Greenland or having some kind of United States, Greenland presence. What is the deal with Greenland? Why was it that the vice president and his wife traveled all the way there?
I think Americans, by the way, don't fully realize how important this is to our own security. So all of the missile defense that we have depends on having a presence in Greenland, because you think, God forbid, if somebody fires a missile at us, it's going to come over the Arctic. We need to have the visibility of what's going on there. And look, Denmark, which of course controls Greenland right now, they've really underinvested in the infrastructure and in the security of Greenland. The president, what he said, of course the media attacks it, but it's very common sense. It's, look, this matters to our security, this matters to our missile defense, and we're going to protect America's interests come hell or high water.
Yeah, and that is what the president of the United States, fun fact, is supposed to do. Protect America's interest come hell or high water. And that's exactly what President Donald Trump is doing. That's exactly what he's doing with his cabinet, what he's doing with his economic policies, what he's doing with his border policies, what he's doing with his administration, what he's doing with the Department of Government Efficiency, which, fun fact, they asked J.D. Vance about as well, because guess what? Elon Musk has been under attack. And Elon Musk has been the focus of rumors once again that have popped up in the media, because every time Elon Musk does or says something that the media doesn't like or that the left doesn't like, they come up with some new rumor or attack plan to try to bring Elon down. And the new rumor is that after the tariffs, after the stock market started to fall, after all of these things, Donald Trump needed a fall guy. Donald Trump needed somebody that he could take down or remove. So Elon Musk is on his way out. And J.D. Vance said that is 100% false. It's more fake news from the fake news media.
I talked to Elon yesterday. I'm going to talk to him later this evening. The president relies on Elon's counsel. I do. Look, the fake news always tries to take the strongest members of the president's team and attack them and tear them down. Things couldn't be better. It's just, I don't even know where it's coming from. And I think that where it's coming from is the media is so resentful of the fact that we're doing a good job. They know they can't attack the president, so they're going to attack members of the president's team. You see this, sometimes they come after me, sometimes they come after Elon, sometimes they come after other people. It's the game that the mainstream press plays. Unfortunately for them, we just don't listen to it.
Yeah, and they play it better too, which is the other fun thing. Listen, if you would like your President Donald Trump gold card, then all you have to do is, pony up five. I imagine if you show up at the front gates of the White House with the $5 million in cash, I imagine you'll get a gold card pretty gosh darn quickly. In the meantime, if you would like more news and more information and more of the latest stuff going on in the world, then all you need to do is make sure you're listening to our second daily podcast, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. We start the day with the 47 Daily, and at noon we bring you live reports of everything else going on in the world with Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. You can watch us live on any of our streaming services, or go to your favorite podcast platform, Apple iTunes podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio or wherever you happen to listen. Search Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, download, listen, and enjoy.